having been opportuned to go to the rural areas where these mining sites, as a journalist, when I did documentary on the solid minerals deposit in Nigeria, and having gone there and saw so many things on ground, that actually, when he was talking, it actually touched me. The area it touched me is the area where he said the owner, that's the original owners of the land, the federal government, the state, is like three persons are into one thing, and at the end of it all, like in Igbo land, they say that and at the end, it will end up that the people who are the owners of the land will be the ones suffering. So what I'm saying based on the law is that, how do we now do it so that the environment, because after all said and done, when you get to all those places, the mining sites, after the exploration, what happens to the holes, to the, because some of them are very, the pits are usually very big. During rainy season, they can, in fact, some of them usually, you know what's happening in Ebonyi, where somebody, a car ran into, and the people, the occupants of the vehicle, they were all dead. Sometimes you see women coming back from farm, children, they can easily be drowned in all those places. So what is federal government doing? Because this is it's not only federal government telling us that they are owner of the solid minerals in the ground. So what are they also doing to protect those people that the real owners of the land?
Our inclusiveness is a major problem, not just in mining sector, but in every sector. Because in this country we are still biased by culture. A lot of things still keep women apart. But we think that the mining sector could be more deliberate in ensuring inclusivity. And some of the things they can do is even, first and foremost, I was going to ask, how many communities are even aware about CDA? Because it's very critical. If people are not aware and their people stumble on them, they are based to be different interests. So for us to begin to address this question of whether you call it inclusivity or whatever, the people must be aware. And when I mean the people, everybody. And so there is need for this information to get to all the communities. By now, we will know almost all the communities that you can mine in. And then these communities, if they have this information, could be prepared ahead of time. There is something we've done that worked for us in the entire Southeast. And that was why when they talked about Oshiri, I laughed, because we even did it in Oshiri. Is what we call community charters of demand. It's something again that is going to work in CDA. And what do I mean by community charter of demand? Communities that are rich in minerals could produce their charters of demand even before the investors come. And in producing charters of demand, everybody must be involved. Nobody is left behind. And in producing charters of demand, they could do it during festive period. We are aware that in the Southeast, during December period, there is like a homecoming where all community members meet. The women are having their own, the men are having, the youth and everybody. It is at this point that we expect the community, let the women in their gathering come up with what they would want if somebody is coming into their community. Let the men come up with their own. Let the youths come up with their own. And then the community would deliberately meet together, everybody now, to vote democratically. Which do we think is priority? Which do we think is priority from what the women have brought, the youths and the men? And they will all commonly agree that this is our priority in scale of preference. And once it's done, to be honest, in everywhere that you apply these charters of demand, it has solved a lot of problems. Because part of the problem, you come to a community now, we have agreement with this mining company. Just like doctor encountered with Yoshiri man, somebody is telling you something else. I don't know for them, or the Igwes, they've collected money. The PG has collected money. And it's because it's not a collective agreement. But when you have the charters done by everybody, known by everybody, you will find a community speaking one language. Anybody who you ask will tell you this is the way it is. So for us, it is important that everybody is brought together, that nobody is left behind. Thank you.
When we discuss CDA, the questions that normally come, usually arise from a number of misconceptions. Many of us don't understand what are the prescriptions of the law, either in terms of our constitution or the Minerals and Mining Act. So we based on our lack of understanding, we raise things and say, oh, this should have been done and that should have been done. I think we have to have that clarity, first of all. It's not everything that comes within the purview of the CDA. There are some things that are obligations of the mineral title holder that are distinct from the issue of CDA. We must separate that. Yeah. When you apply for a mining license, there are obligations under the law that you must comply with, which include all those things about environmental compliance, work programs, and all of that. That is different. Then you come and deal with the issue of CDA. CDA is talking about the benefits that the community is supposed to enjoy as a result of that investment in that place. I think these things should be kept quite separate. So part of the confusion we normally have is that we mix all of them together. Secondly, we need to understand the nature of the mineral system that we operate in Nigeria. In some jurisdictions, Canada, US, they operate what we call the private mineral rights system. Under that private mineral rights system, it means that if you own this piece of land here, the mineral lying under this piece of land belongs to you. And so you can begin to assert certain ownership rights over those minerals and so on. But in many Commonwealth countries, including Nigeria, we operate the state mineral rights system, which means that the minerals do not belong to the owner of the land. They belong to the state or belong to government. So if you look at Section 1 of our Minerals and Mining Act 2007, it talks about two things. Section 1, subsection 1 talks about property and then control. So the property right in the mineral and the control is given to the federal government under Section 1, subsection 1 of the Minerals and Mining Act. So nobody can be saying that it is my mineral, therefore I should be giving something. So your basis for asking the mining company to do something for you is not that you are the owner of that mineral, because it's already been taken away. I think that fact needs to be appreciated by everybody. Secondly, subsection 2 of that section 1 says that anywhere mineral is found in commercial quantity, that land belongs to the federal government. Yes. Section 1, subsection 2 says once mineral is found in this place in commercial quantity, that already belongs to the federal government. So the issue is that the mineral is on our land no longer also applies. We have to understand that. But there's a distinction. When you come to Section 1, subsection 3, it says that even though the property, the mineral belongs to the federal government, once you win it, the property right is transferred from the federal government to the person that won the mineral. And who won the mineral here is a mining company. And that is why they are required to pay royalty to the government. So I think we should understand that trajectory. It's very, very important that we should do that. Now, having addressed that issue, I want us to quickly just look at the issue of Section 71 of the Minerals and Mining Act, which talks about pre-investment conditions. What must an investor do before he can commence operation? And there are basically four things. The first one, that they must have an environmental impact assessment. That deals with the issue of environmental degradation and all of those things. And that report must be approved by the Mines Environmental Compliance Department of the ministry. The second one is that there must be a work program that you are, as a miner, look, this is what I'm going to be doing for this number of years, this time. That again is to be approved by the Mines Inspectorate. That is second. The third one is the conclusion of the CDA, which Dr. Garba has been talking about. And then the fourth one is compensation. So that is what is required under the law for an investor in the mining sector to comply with. So once they comply with all of this, then they have right to mine. Now, however, I want to tease out certain few things that gives the individual some say in this matter. If you look at Section 100 of the Minerals and Mining Act, it says that the consent of the owner or private land is required by the minister. You must give that consent before the minister can grant a license. Now that is where the issue then comes. Now, can I impose conditions to giving my consent? And perhaps maybe that's what His Royal Highness was facing, where they say, okay, well, yes, okay, you can come and mine, but me, this is what for me to allow you to do, this is what I'm going to do. So the law talks about consent. Now, those of us who have been advising clients in this area, we felt that it was a wrong thing to do, to include that provision in the law, because it takes away the landowner's rights, and then it gives it back to him again in one way, so it creates conflict. So because of that, I can decide not to give the consent. So the issue is that if you decide not to give consent, worst case scenario, the minister might override you and ask for compensation to be paid to you and so on, because the law recognizes that the occupier of the land enjoys surface rights. Now, these surface rights include that if you are farming on that land, you can continue to farm there as long as your farming does not interfere with the mining activity. If you are rearing livestock, you can continue to do that. So there's that reservation of that surface rights that you enjoy that. Now, if you can no longer carry out those activities, then you are entitled to compensation. And that is where the issue of economic trees, evaluation, and the evaluation is done by government. By the way, yes, Dr. Garba had already made the point that maybe the scale used has become obsolete in the light of recent realities. Those are things that ought to be changing with time. Because maybe the cost of an economic tree some 10 years ago, so maybe those are things that we should constantly review to ensure that these people who are compensated get proper compensation so that they do not feel left out of the process and so on. The Minerals and Mining Act recognizes certain activities. So when we talk about artisanal mining, really, the law, before the 2007 Act, we didn't recognize artisanal mining in our law. So everybody was called illegal miner. Illegal miner, once you are not operating without, once you are operating without a license, you are an illegal miner. Now, we now, under the 2007 law, we now recognize what is called artisanal mining. The definition is, Dr. Garba, is like semantics. Where you use minimum technology, that is what it is, low-level use of mechanization and so on. That's all. So it didn't really confirm much. But the law now went ahead to say that, okay, you can have a small-scale mining license. And says that, okay, the law did not provide for an artisanal mining license. It provided for a small-scale mining license. Mind you, small-scale mining had already been recognized under the law all along. So it just says that, okay, artisanal miners cannot qualify because of the nature of the activity to be given a license. So, but if they come together as a cooperative, then we can issue them a small-scale mining license to be able to carry out their activities. That is where we are now. But we all recognize, and I think this is the point that that has been made in several fora, that the nature of our geology is not every mineral that is in commercial quantity in such a way that it will bring a major mining company to come and exploit. There are some mineral endowments that we have in this country that are actually best suited for this kind of artisanal activity. So allow them to do so as long as they organize themselves in such a way that they don't degrade the land, they don't become a nuisance to other operators and so on. Now, in some jurisdictions, there has been a conscious effort, like my learned colleague said, to ensure that large-scale operators and small-scale artisanal, they coexist In some places, it's a conscious thing to do, ensure that, so they say, okay, fine, I have all of this. If I'm not using them, I can allow them, you restrict your activity to that part and continue to do so that we live in harmony. Now, but the nature of our licenses is that they are exclusive licenses. So the person who gets license expects that no other person should be around disturbing his operation. So it now becomes a matter of exigency. How do you survive? Do you want to create an atmosphere where you will take them in and allow yourself to go and so on? They can be a nuisance, to be honest, to smooth operation. Because the person that has the license is the person that is responsible to the authorities for whatever environmental consequences of operation. So the man, if he cannot control what you do, why should he allow you on his? Because at the end, when the mine inspectorate comes, he's the one who will be held responsible. So these are some of the challenges that do exist both in our operating environment and also in terms of our policy and law, which we need to deal with. Now, going forward, we understand that states, the land, the federal government that grants the licenses does not own any land, apart from those ones that are given today by the Land Use Act. So you need the states. Now, the states is where you go to get your access to land, as it were. Should they have a say in this process? Now, before the 2007 Act, you know that we used to have multiple levels of approval. And the investors say, look, we can't be coming to an environment where you collect license here, all. By the time you go to about 15 places to get license, it becomes tedious. And so there was an attempt to ensure that they harmonize this thing. And that is where the work of the Mining Cadastral Office comes in now, to ensure that this is done. But the Miremco, which is supposed to delicately manage relationship between the federal and state interests, really, to be honest, hasn't achieved that purpose that we want right now. Now, the issue has arisen as whether we need to change the composition of the Miremco or to further strengthen it to be able to do this. That's a conversation that is going on. What has happened in some states that they have changed the chairman, because under the law, the chair was the federal lands officer. Now, who, without any insult, would probably be like a low-level officer. Now, he may not be able to interact with the governor very well. So they said, okay, what has happened now is that in practice, it's not in the law now, in practice, what has happened now that they have ceded the chairmanship to the governor of the state to appoint. So the governor perhaps sometimes appoints the commissioner, or sometimes appoints whoever.
And that's highly political.
That is it. So that has created problems for us in the Mineral and Mining Act, because the Mineral and Mining Act has tended to take away political interference in the process. But when you now come and introduce it again through that system again, it creates a problem. So we agree, just like the CDA, and this is not the only area in our mineral law policy that has challenges. So we have to look at that from that there. Now, may I just conclude? Yes. Can I just conclude? So I don't want to come out again, so let me just conclude. I had listened to Dr. Garba's presentation on all of this before now, and now I have my reflections. And my reflections are born out of the fact that, having listened to it, the areas that I think that we have problems, and I think we have problems at one of the points Prince has already brought out is the issue of capacity. Capacity to negotiate. Capacity to negotiate and capacity to monitor. How do we develop that? Two, I've seen also the issue of funding. Now, Garba had given examples of jurisdictions, different of how they have been trying to create a creative funding mechanism for CDAs. Is it not time that we also create bring about some creative funding for the CDAs, close to what we have in the PIA? For instance, so that you can be sure that those projects, the issue of abandoned projects, will be reduced, and they come. Because right now, it would appear that the whole responsibility for funding the implementation of the CDA is on the company. Is that going to come from their capex, or from their OPEX, or from their profit? So if they don't have the profit, they'll say, we cannot do it. So is it going to be a capital requirement for them to be able to put together? These are things that, so if we have a funding mechanism that deals with that, we should be able to deal with that. So like I said, Capacity building will deal with the issue of negotiation, monitoring, and project selection, obviously. And then the last one for me is compliance and enforcement. So what you have by way of CDA is a statutory, is a contract that has statutory flavor. It's a contract, but it has statutory flavor. So can we have the state also involved in ensuring that there's compliance, since it is it has statutory flavor? If it was just an ordinary contract between two people, say it's a civil matter, all of you go and deal with it. If you do not use your contractual remedies under the law. But right now, this is something that has a statutory flavor. Should we now begin to say that the state can just take a backstage, or they should be actively involved in compliance and enforcement, as the case may be?
My name is Professor Peter Kwe, as a research professor at the Nigerian Center of Advanced Legal Studies. My research interests include mining law and policy, and that's why I'm involved in this program here today.
Oh, great. You're welcome. What we have done here today is validation of a research on the efficacy of community development agreements. The researcher has done his presentation from what he has gathered from the field. What's your impression of that research and the meeting itself in general?
Thank you. The research conducted by Center LSD provides valuable insights into how CDAs have been negotiated and implemented across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. It has highlighted some pertinent challenges relating to how the benefits of the mining investment can inure to the benefit of the host communities. It has also thrown up challenges that we face in the process, challenges such as lack of inclusivity in the negotiation process, issues of capacity to effectively negotiate and monitor implementation, issues around funding of the CDA process and all of that. So for me, I believe that the findings and recommendations that have been made in the report as presented provides a pathway for policymakers to begin to look at it with a view to seeing how they can shape policy around effective implementation of those recommendations, those ones that require legislative intervention, how we can get around shaping policy or laws to ensure reasonable asymmetry in that regard. Of course, they also the responsibility of civil society in that regard. So I believe that provides the pathway for us to begin to look at how we can deal with all these issues.
Great. So, but coming to the CDA itself, do you think it is something that really can make a whole lot of difference for the communities? Do you think it's something that even the companies can also benefit?
Well, yes, mining investment, particularly because of the nature of a business that has a long gestation period, requires that there should be a harmonious relationship between the mining company and its host community. And that is what traditionally is known as social license to operate. And the CDAs provides that social license to operate, but it creates that enabling environment for the investor to enjoy the confidence of his host community and therefore be able to carry out profitable operations. So to that extent, CDAs, if properly implemented in line with what is provided for the law, should be able to achieve that objective.
Great. So what recommendations can you give us moving forward? I know we have done a lot of discussions in this meeting, in this event, but in direct sense, what recommendations?
One of the takeaways from today's meeting and the presentations made based on the research is the need to have inclusivity in the process of negotiating CDA so that all groups that are interested in the community are part of it. That way, we have a document that's acceptable to all members of the community, to which all members of the community identify with. So that is the first thing we should try to do, how to ensure that inclusivity. Secondly, is to empower the people to be able to negotiate successfully with the mining company. So issues of capacity needs to be ramped up in such a way that the people negotiating on behalf of the communities have the necessary know-how and are also aware of what is required of them in terms of the benefits that we to every party or every member of society. These things needs to be clearly streamlined so that you will not ask more than is necessary from the mining companies. We will not overburden them to such an extent that they will choose another mining destination and abandon their operations. We will not overburden them in such a way that they will think that investing in that community is undesirable. So we need the investment and we must have realistic expectations of the companies. One thing that is very clear is that people should not think that CDAs they replace the existence of government. No, government still exists at all levels, the federal level, state and local government, and they have responsibilities and obligations to the people. So people should not think that through the mechanisms of CDA, all those responsibilities will be transferred to a mining company or to an investor that has come within their community. That would be detrimental to the process.
Great. One of the key things that also came out was the fact that recommendation that there will be need for funding. And I think I heard that all over. What's your view regarding funding, the same way that it is in the PIA?
Yes, because the mechanism under the Minerals and Mining Act today foresees a state where funding of those projects is an entire responsibility of the mining company. And the question is that where would they fund this? Is it from the capital expenditure or operating expenditure or from profits, as it were? So we think that there's a need for some intervention funding. Like what you have, be a very dedicated percentage of money set aside for funding CTA projects that will make the implementation more effective.
Great. Introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Princess Ogunya Sylvia Equatos. I'm the president of Ebonyi State Women in Mining.
Great. Now we have been in this meeting today where we have been talking about the research on the efficacy of community development agreements. We have had a lot of discussion. Give us an impression of this meeting.
Okay, I would like to appreciate St. Elezi for the efforts, because after today's meeting, I discovered that the issue of CDA is viral in Nigeria. Both, it's not only in Southeast, but even in the North and the West. CDA has been an issue in the mining host community. This meeting is an eye-opener to know how we can go about the CDA, writing it, who are involved, what to be captured in CDA.
Correct. Now, what's up for women? I know that this research also is about intersection, gender intersection. Can you let us in the gender dimension of the CDA, how it should affect women or not?
Okay, the CDA issues really affect us women. Number one, they don't include us in drafting the CDA. Even the implementation committee, we are not included. Anything concerning CDA or affect to mining land by leasing a land to a mining company, women are not captured. If we try to protect that, why are we not captured? They will say we are women, because in Igbo tradition they say woman doesn't own a land, and really it's affecting us. We are not part of the CDA, we don't know what is happening. Even with that, the mining company doesn't take, or they don't employ women in the mining sites. They only employ us by giving us a laborer work to be a cleaner of the company. Because if our community have given us a right to be part of what they're doing, we can say, okay, we can do so job. Women operate excavator, dozer, but because of the community, even the government, because I don't think government has a provision for us to be captured in CDA. Because if government had put it in the law, there is no need of the traditional rulers denying us to be the part of the drafting of the CDA.
So, given all of this that you have said, what would be your recommendation, particularly as it will affect women?
Okay, my recommendation is that the federal government should beef up by ensure that women are captured in CDA. They should put it in the law. They have Mining Act. They can review the law and ensure that women are part of the law. Women are included in drafting of the CDA and the monitoring of the CDA, or even during the review. Women are not included. My recommendation is that women should be fully involved. The Mining Act should be reviewed so that the women will be captured.
My name is His Royal Highness Ezra Dr. Oliver Cosmas Nobekam JP, the chairman for Okosa Kingdom, for state.
Now, today we are here discussing the CDA and all of that. What's your impression of what we have discussed in this meeting concerning CDA?
Much blessed because many things have been brought out and enlightenment. What has been happening in some communities involves the solid minerals. We have learned a lot. Like in my own community, we have a mining section located at Amechi. Unfortunately, there was a conflict which we have tried to resolve. And the investors have issues. And based on this, they have paid a certain amount into the account of the community. But because of the conflict, they have not been able to resolve, which is the account. But we are saying, whatever be the case, we want it to be resolved and the farm economy to come back.
So what would then be your recommendation? You have listed to everybody what will be our recommendation moving forward concerning the CDA and how it affects our different communities.
Yes. For this, the CDA have done a lot cooperating with the investors. But what we need now is the memorandum of understanding. This memorandum of understanding should be able to be spelled out the benefits that will be accrued from the respective communities that the solid minerals have been involved. For instance, the percentage that should be given to the community, the percentage that should be given to the government, and the government should be able to recognize that wherever the mineral resources is coming from, that they should give consideration to that community, because the community are the sole owner of the land and the solid minerals. And the host communities should be able to benefit much from the investors from the state government. They should not go only to the state government, but should go to the federal government. Because without the solid minerals being found in such a community, the government has nothing to do. That is why we are saying, whatever that is coming out in any community, the community should be recognized and they give them their due authorized percentage to boost the economy of the locality in that place. And the deployment, the workers there, should take at least 70% of other workers instead of bringing workers from a different place, so that there will be peace, the peace should reign.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
It is grateful.
My name is Mustafa El Hawas Salim. I am from Odago village, mining community in Ojogu district, Ampa local government of Kogi state. Actually, I am representing a network for mining host community of Ampa local government in Kogi state, and I am an influencer within my community as regard mining, gold mining in my area. Actually, there are a lot of things that has been going on over the years, and my domain happens to be one of the pioneering area in Nigeria that started mining gold, even before I was born. And as per time goes on, we realize that there are a lot of things that are not in order. That is why we came home, we agree within ourselves, most of us in diaspora, to give a helping hand to our people on the basis of sanitation, orientation, and how to go about most of the issues that is affecting them. Because we go to my community as it is now over the years, right from the time of Nigerian Coal Corporation. If you hear Nigerian Coal Corporation, there is nowhere we are talking about it is for our community. But unfortunately, there is nothing there you can fathom about the benefit they have had so far.
Right. So today we are here to validate the research on the efficacy of community development agreement. We brought North Central, where Kogi is located.
Yes.
We also brought the Southeast together. Now, having heard all that we have spoken, all that we have discussed here today, what's your impression about this meeting, particularly concerning the CDA?
First and foremost, I think I will show my appreciation to this for the organizers, and secondly to the researcher. It has given me a very wide scope of understanding about CDA, which all this time we have been parabolating in the dark, I would say. And then it has widened our horizon on how to go about it. It's a very rich research document, which is very apt at the moment. In fact, there are no buildings that will stand without a solid foundation. The CDA is one of the most fundamental foundation for the mining industry, and this is one of it. I'm so much appreciative of these activities and this effort, and I will pray to God that it will go any further. There is a lot in it that will help both the government, the community, and even the company if we are all sincere to the business. And actually, given the government directive or hope to diversify our economy and local enrichment, this is one of the areas, because there is nothing you will do. Law is like a torchlight, a guide for whatever we do. And this is a very, very fundamental law as regards to mining in Nigeria. So it is a very rich document. I, for one, am so appreciative of this effort, and hope that it will go further than this.
So, looking at all of that we have done, what will you recommend moving forward?
One, just like it was mentioned today, that it will be taken forward to the national level. I pray that it happens. And secondly, it will be taken to the National Assembly for consideration and then input into our law. I pray that it happens too. And again, there are lots to be done. But our prayer is that, my prayer and wish is that this will be acceptable. And then some of the issues there that can be rectified, because for instance, I would not like to take much of the time, but I would like to mention, like in the Mining Act, Section 116, yes, it provides that any company coming around will make provision for social amenities. Now, some of those social amenities, for instance, are roads, clinic, schools, etc. Now, if you go there, where these companies are mining, believe you me, you will not like to follow that road a second time. So for over decades that they have been operating, the question is, how come the roads are not being in order? How come we don't have better schools? How come we don't have health facilities? And again, there should be a very clear definition of the provision of road, provision of hospital. It's not about building hospitals, so who maintains it? So this thing should come hand in hand with the government responsibility. If the company is building fine, the government now will now take up the responsibility of running it for the benefit of the community. Because you can't say the community should run it. They don't have the means in the first place. So those are one of those things I would like to see inputted into the law I'm seeing here.